I'm live, says YouTube. Time will tell. And I hope that audio and video are okay. Let's just see. I need to put the monetization on. Okay. Yes, it's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. Hello. Tuesday morning. 2 people here and already 1 like. I am ever so grateful. Hey, Joel. Okay, so we're going to talk about lies and truth in the Hebrew faith, in the Torah. We're going to bring some verses. Earlier, hey, Dev Coffee is here. How you doing? I hope you had a good day at work. I hope you and your animals are doing well. It's good to see. It's good to be seen. So this morning I did a quickie, right? And as is tradition, this July I'm going to be starting with that. Lies and truth in Judaism, right? When is it okay to lie? Is it ever okay to lie? Lies, half-truths, omission, things of that nature. And I brought the very classic example of Sarah and Abraham when they discover that they are about to have a kid, or that Sarah will get pregnant, even though she was 90 and postmenopausal. And so when she hears that, she says, could it be that I will get pregnant and have a kid when I'm this old? When my fellow, right, when my partner, Abraham, is this old, my master is this old? And when God relates this to Abraham, he says that Sarah said, could it be that I will get pregnant when I'm this old? And he changed Abraham to Sarah, right? As if she was not talking about him, but she was talking about herself, casting doubt on her own biological abilities, seeing as how she is advanced in age. And in this, God and the divine revelation, and this was written in Torah, actually changed what was going on. It wasn't that, because that's not what she said. According to the Torah, what she said was, my master is old, right? My partner is old. Abraham is old. When God related this to Abraham, he related to him that she said that she herself is old. And so we see that in some ways, you could call it a white lie, you could call it a half-truth, you could call it omission, whatever you want. There are times when it is permissible to not divulge everything, right? You need to be tactical about it. You need to be, right? It needs to be the right place and the right time to do such a thing. Something like a man and his wife, right? Intimate partners, family. Sometimes you'll say something or omit something or change a little something in order to spare someone's feelings. On the other hand, we know that truth is a great foundation of the world. I'm about to read a few different verses and sayings and things from Proverbs as well, and from this Torah portion of this week, of Deuteronomy that we started this week, that state that truth is the foundation of basically everything, right? And when everything, I mean things to do with this world, right? Not necessarily everything, but truth is one of the foundations of this world. And so when are you allowed? When are you not allowed? Because feelings are subjective. And so just because somebody's feelings might get hurt, you're supposed to change something or omit something or tell a half-truth or tell a half-lie, or where does it actually start and when does it end? Because these are subjective things, idiosyncratic things. You may think one thing, another person might be offended. You may have no qualms about saying anything, but so now Hebrew, right, Jewish halacha does try to be as particular as it can be about this, but we do have the precedent in the Torah of the divine revelation changing the word Abraham to Sarah when God relates that story to Abraham. And so we can see that even in the Torah, there was a small change, there was something, even if it was very minute. So in this week's Torah portion, Moses talks to the people of Israel about the different judges that stood right for them in the desert. And he says, this is Deuteronomy 1:16, and I charged your judges at the time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between a man and his brother, okay, and the stranger that is with him. He's basically saying, tell the truth, judge righteously. Just because you know someone doesn't make him right. Just because somebody is a foreigner, a stranger, a sojourner, doesn't make him wrong. You need to be good judges. You need to be righteous judges. And that means being truthful. And even if you heard the same case in different times, a few times under different circumstances, maybe different scenarios, but it was kind of the same case, treat each case as a standalone thing, and don't say to yourself, well, since I've dealt with this before, I'll just do this and that. No. You're a judge. You were selected. You were chosen. You need to do this righteously. You need to act judiciously, right? You need to actually make it happen and to speak truth and to judge in truth. And he says, you shall not be afraid of the face of any man. Right, and this is again reminiscent of what Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens said, a man who tells the truth doesn't need to remember anything. Or, more paraphrased as, a man who tells the truth doesn't need to remember what he said. Because if you go in a way of truth and you don't utter a lie, then you don't need to remember. Because with lies, right, you have a web of lies. You tell a lie to cover up for a different lie. You need to keep track of all the different lies, what you told who, about whom, and when. And the judges, when they judge righteously, they don't need to fear because the truth is on their side. Another verse on truth from the book of Exodus 23:7. Keep thee far from a false matter. Now, in the Hebrew it says midvar sheker tirchak, that actually mentions the word lie, sheker. The innocent and righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. Meaning, if the truth is not on your side, that's going to be a problem. You need to stay away from lies. You need to stay away from false matters. Let's go to the chat quickly before I keep going. Shaya Gadol, what's up, man? Hello, Dustin. Hello, Greenblood. Hello, Tigra. Hello, Crazy Cal. Hey, Iron Mark Heavy Metal. How you doing? John Van Gretsch. Pez Candy Dispensers. Pez Candy. No, you can do it. Dude, you can do it yourself. No, man. I'm in the middle and you are right here. You're not far away. אני כבר עושה מה הכפרה עליך. ממש לא. Thank you. No, come on. You could plug something in. You know what? You're playing a game and I'm streaming.
Good, so keep going live.
Well, yeah, it's not cool. What you're doing right now is not okay.
What did I do?
What you did is...
Die.
Oh, come on, man.
You're in the middle.
Yes, I know I'm in the middle. Ergo, you probably should not have disturbed me.
Good, so I'll shut my mouth.
I didn't ask you to shut your mouth. But you could have plugged in the extension cord by yourself. You're a big boy. He's a big boy. Okay. Jill Slaughter is here. Ryan is here. What do you wash your hair with? A vegan shampoo, vegan conditioner. I was off today, took the dogs out to the lake. Ooh, Dev Coffee took the dogs out to the lake. That is great. That is really great. Okay. Austin MW7, do you think aliens are real? He says, yes, I do. I haven't met any, but I do believe they are real. Another internet weirdo. Hey, a fellow internet weirdo. I swear I saw this guy under a bridge a couple of hours ago. No, a couple of hours ago I was at the gym. Ergo, I was not under a bridge. Goodness, your hair, says Trina. Yes, it's just hair. That's all that it is. Thoughts on the genocide in Gaza? Digital says, there is no genocide in Gaza. There would be a genocide in Gaza if Hamas had their way. There would be a genocide in Israel if Hamas had their way, but there is no genocide in Gaza. Do you shower? Yes, I did. I showered right after the gym just this morning. YouTube streaming caused childhood psychological trauma in your kid. No, the only user N06, the only one who caused psychological trauma in my kid is me. Right? Because I screw up, because I'm a parent and I make mistakes. But this was not one of these times. He could have definitely done that on his own. Okay. I am vegan, but I have 3 cats, so I feed them with, well, food. Yeah, you know what? We lived with a doggo for 15 years, and I fed her dog food and meat and fish and things of that nature because she is an actual predator and an actual carnivore. That's why. Is your mother is your aunt? That's not a proper sentence, but if you're asking if my mother is my aunt, no. I have several aunts. They are not my mother. So, no. Okay, a couple of more verses from the Psalms. 101:7. He that worketh deceit shall not dwell within my house. He that speaketh falsehood shall not be established before mine eyes. So we see, right, whether it's the Torah, whether it's the Psalms, or the book of Proverbs we're going to talk about now, whether it's the Mishnah that we're also going to mention now, the idea of speaking the truth is foundational. The idea of speaking truth and not speaking falsehoods is paramount. Can you always do it across the board? No, because you're not perfect. Should that be what you are aiming at? Yes, definitely that should be the case. Does the Torah, despite all that, set the precedence or the precedent of the divine revelation of speech changing changing Abraham to Sarah when he relates that story of Sarah's doubt, let's say, about whether or not she could give birth at that age, and changes Abraham to Sarah? Yes. And so we see that there are cases where you can change a tiny thing. You can call it, again, you can call it a white lie. You can call it a half-truth, a half-lie. There are times when it is permissible to do so and to spare someone's feelings, but you need to be absolutely sure. You can't simply do it willy-nilly, as they say, whenever you want, and banking on the fact that, oh, no, it's in the Torah, I'm acting in righteousness. No, it needs to be a specific thing. It needs to be ideally, right, when it's somebody close to you, family members, intimate partners, then you might be able to spare someone's feelings, but you still need to tell the truth. You still need to be a person, a man and a woman of truth. Proverbs 19:4, a false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that breatheth forth lies shall not escape. So, again, because this idea of, oh, I think I'm going to tell a lie and bend reality to my will and my whim, and I'll be fine, I'll get away scot-free, it'll all be good. No. More often than not, a person who lies will continue lying. A person who lies will continue to need to cover up that lie. A person who lies will need to orchestrate this whole web. You know, they lie to themselves, they lie to their intimate partner, their family, their friends. Now, you can say that some people are simply with some sort of a mental issue, and I'm not going to say anything about that. That's a different issue. I'm talking about somebody who is fairly normative and could choose to say the truth, but because of whatever reason, they decide to take the easy way out and tell a falsehood and tell a lie, right? He that breatheth forth lies shall not escape. There is an inescapable truth, which is eventually, more often than not, you will get caught in your own web of lies and eventually be exposed. Now, I'm not necessarily talking again about the psychopathic, dark tetrad or dark triad people who are sort of, right, Machiavellian and sadistic, and they enjoy harming people, and they enjoy manipulating people, and they are like parasites on those around them, and they take and lie and lie and lie. No, I'm talking about the fairly normative, psychologically well and balanced individuals who, for whatever reason, choose to go with a lie over the truth. And the Torah, the Proverbs, the prophets say, no, go with the truth. The truth shall set you free. The truth guides you. The truth orients you in the proper way of righteousness. The truth is able to save you. The truth has to do a lot with discipline. The truth has to do a lot with going in a forward manner and not going awry. Another one from Proverbs 12:22. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. And so again, we see this comparing or contrasting rather of lies and the truth in the Hebrew Bible, and I'm sure that such things also exist in the Christian Bible and in other sacred texts, in other books, in other pieces of lore and legend and mythology and whatnot, because the idea of speaking truth has ever and always been a foundation of a good life. It may not be an easy life, but it's a good life, and those are not the same thing. It may not be a comfortable life, but it is a good and righteous life. Okay, one more bit before I go to the chat. Pirkei Avot in the Mishnah, right? The Oral Torah. Chapter 1, Mishnah 18. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel used to say, this was a sage at the time of the second temple. He said, on three things does the world stand: on justice, on truth, and on peace. As it is said, execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates, from Zechariah. Now, this idea of justice and truth and peace, they go together. These are the three foundations of the world, according to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, or Rabban Shimon, their master. He was the master of the high court, master of the Sanhedrin. And that's what we're missing here in this region more than anything. Maybe all over the world, but I'm speaking over here in this region of Israel, right? Justice, truth, and peace, one leading into the other. One leading into the other, although it could be truth, justice, and then peace. But I think that every time that I speak here, every time that there's a back and forth here regarding the war, regarding everything going on with that, I say we need to de-radicalize both sides. We need real justice. We need true peace. And you can add truth to that as well. That goes with the de-radicalization. All right, so that was a bit from the Torah, a bit from the writings, and a bit from the oral traditions on truth. What do you people think? When is it okay to lie? Is it ever okay to lie? When is it okay to spare someone's feelings and change something small, not something fundamental, not something crucial, not something paramount, not something that would change the very nature of whatever it is that's going on between you and the one that you're conversing with? But when is it okay to lie? When is it okay for you to either omit something or change something? All right, scrolling down in the chat. Never okay to lie, says user HQ. Okay, cool. That's one opinion. And it's a very, very common opinion, right? It's a very common thing. Don't lie. Don't ever lie. Lying is wrong across the board. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהכל נהיה בדברו. Good cup of coffee. Okay. Greenblood says, religion keep people in line so countries don't end up looking like GTA. Good to have some direction. Yes, I agree. Despite many people ask me about faith and religion and what is it good for, it's all bullshit, it's all myth, it's all, it's all control, it's an opiate for the masses. And I say the same thing every time. I say, sure, there's that side of it if you want to go that route, but there's also, how did you put it? You put it, keeping people in line. And this does not equate controlling people. This does not equate, or don't conflate it with dominating people. Sure, some religious leaders do that. Maybe some entire religions do that. But at its foundation, religion is a path, it's a way, it's a discipline, it's having direction. That's exactly right. Having direction, Greenblood, that's what it's about. And the direction is one that takes you outside of yourself. It broadens your horizons, it heightens your awareness and consciousness, and it helps you to look outside of yourself and your own ego. Many religions say that you should be helpful and loving towards your fellow man and woman, your fellow earthlings. You should look outside of your ego. You should not let your ego control you. Shed the negative karma, right, and do good, and serve people, and serve God, and love people, and love God. Having direction can be done without religion, says Zerly J. It's called having one self-brain. While I agree with you, there are certain things where the direction that religion points you at, you would not have necessarily been able to come up with it in that very same way of your own accord. The classic example is the Sabbath, and this is something my mother always has said, though she hasn't said it in a while, but she has said it many times in the past. Human beings, we are beasts of burden. We are animals of labor. We carry a yoke. We take on a burden. You give us an aim. You give us a goal. We'll keep working until we drop dead. We'll take the occasional rest, but basically we can keep going. And the fact that there is a Sabbath that says, no, now for 24, 25 hours, no toil, no labor, no hard work, no school, no, nothing. Forget your day job, and now you're focusing on the mind, the spirit, the Torah, the family, good food, good vibes, rest, love. And that's a kind of direction where humanity would not have necessarily come up with it of its own accord. Time to rest, sure. A specific weekly day to say, no, now it's stopping, now nothing. Now we are bound to rest. That's something that has a divine element to it. So the direction we would have gone in surely would have included rest. But a day of rest each and every week, that my mother sees as something of divine instruction. And in that sense, having direction can be done without religion. You're absolutely right. But for instance, with the Sabbath, it's something very unique, very specific, that forces you, that binds you to let go of all of these earthly things to the degree that one does, and focus on the spirit, focus on the family, focus on rest. Okay, let's continue. Why Psychoactive Doom? That's a great username, man. Why Jesus were murdered by them? Why so much hate towards Jesus? And ask Pilate to crucify him. Well, again, the Romans crucified him. He was not murdered by Jews, but okay. Dustin Michael is here. If it's hell for you to do good, why people and look forward and look towards God for guidance, then yeah, it's hell for that person, I guess. I don't know. For me, it's a good thing. Well, I guess you're, Dustin, I'm assuming you're talking to someone in the chat. Zurli J, I don't know why you can't grasp that. It still doesn't mean it's real nor true. I never said religion is real or true. I said religion is a path, it's a way, it's a discipline, and that has merit. Does it mean that organized religion as we know it now is the paragon of virtue and the epitome of everything that is righteous and true and real? No. Is there an element deeply rooted in religion of truth, of kindness, of grace, of love, of benevolence? I say yes, and I might be wrong because I'm speaking from the Hebrew perspective. I haven't researched all the religions in the world, obviously. That can be done by people coming together to come to that conclusion, Jay says. Yes, that is true. When was the last time people came together and had a consensus? When? It doesn't happen often. The in-group, out-group thing matters a lot. The tribal thing matters a lot. The nature and nurture thing matters a lot. And people have a ton of bigotry, racism, hatred, preconceived notions. Really, they do. For people to come to a consensus about something, truly, and carry it out and act on it in a way where everybody is in agreement, that almost never happens on these large scales. And yet religion was able to do that to the degree that you think, maybe you don't think, that it has been able to do that. I never said that it is real or true. I don't consider, let's say, the Hebrew faith to be more real or more true than anything else. If you want to say it's all lies and crap and mythology, fairy tales, I say, okay, good, let's go with that. There's still wisdom to be gleaned from it. He says, yes, that's true, Jay says, but again, it's an idea like that could come from humans. Yes, that idea of rest could come from humans. I agree. That's what I started the premise with. Yes, it could come from humans. Rest. We need rest. We are biological beings. We need to recharge. We need to sleep or we go insane and die. But the Sabbath as an idea, the Sabbath as such, just as one example of where religion facilitated this, where ordinary humanity may have not. Though, of course, we would have facilitated times for rest, it would not have been exactly thus. Volts and Bolts says Jews worship Baal. That is false. Jews have not worshipped Baal ever since before the time of the Second Temple, but I'm sure you know much better than everybody else. I think you need a rest now, says Hugo Jolly. Why? I just started. It's morning. I'm starting my day. I've got my cup of coffee. It's all good. It's all good. Faz says, is it okay to steal people's home in Palestine? You don't steal people's home in Palestine. There's no such nation or people or land or country as Palestine. There never ever was. Second of all, there were people here living for hundreds and thousands of years, Jews and Gentiles alike. You can call them Palestinians if you want. That's simply the name that Rome gave this region, Syria Palestina, a Roman province. But Israel did not steal homes. Those Israelis that do steal homes, if and ever they do, that I am against, and I will stand with you, and I will say that is wrong, that is not cool, that is unethical, immoral, and don't do it. But you can't steal your own ancestral home, and that's what we've been doing. We are in our ancestral home. Also, as I've said many times, three major things happened, right? One is that people bought and paid in full, right? They bought land here in Israel before 1948. The second thing that happened is that Israel won a war that it did not start and took over territory. That's legitimate. And then the third thing is that people of their own accord, at the behest of the Muslim Arab leaders, they left their own houses, homes, and lands, thinking they'll be back in a day or two after the Arab armies slaughter all of the Yahud. But shucks, it didn't work out. They lost the war. They continue to lose each and every war. This may not be the case in the future. If the Hebrew people screw up and if we don't keep the Torah and we don't keep the commandments, our enemies might get the upper hand and kick us out again. There's nothing stopping that from happening other than us, ourselves, and our doings and dealings in the world. Where is the love and respect you're talking about, you Zionist? There's plenty of love and respect. I don't love and respect terrorism. I don't love and respect those who wish to kill me just for being a Hebrew man in the Hebrew land. I don't love and respect those who oppress their own population, steal their money, okay, oppress them. I mean, Hamas is a death cult. The Palestinian Authority is a warmongering death cult as well. They may not have actual combatants, but they encourage terrorism, they financially reward terrorism, and they basically want people to be shaheeds and martyrs just like Hamas, just like Fatah, just like Hezbollah. They consider that the way of Allah and the way to go forward, and they value death more than they value life. It's a disgusting death cult. Don't know anything about respect and honor, deluded fool. Well, I am a deluded fool, I'll give you that. I don't know anything about respect and honor. Maybe you could make that proposition, maybe, but I think I know a little bit, maybe not as much as you. Okay, let's continue. Are you homeless, says Lance Kopek. Nope, not right now, and I hope I never will be. I've always had a lovely home to come home to. Barry Delive, hi Barry, says, are non-canon biblical books of any value contextually? Yes, there are. For instance, the book of Maccabees. Very contextual, very historical, very moving speeches, right? Books of Maccabees, particularly 1 and 2, but they did not make it into the Bible. Should they be viewed in any positive light, adding to the Torah or biblical texts? Adding only historically, not insofar as any commandments or faith could be derived, right? But wisdom more than faith. I mean, you may be able to derive faith from these books. You may be able to derive wisdom from those books. Our sages who compiled the Bible and canonized it, they left these certain books out. And you could argue over why they did that and what took place. There were certain prophets they left out. There were certain prophecies by the prophets that did make it that they left out. And they eventually, right, got it down to these 24 books. Yes, 24. So do they have any value? Yes, especially historically, even though you can say that things like Josephus Flavius, Ben Sirah, the book of Hanoch, the book of Maccabees are not exactly historically accurate, and you can make a very strong case, there's still wisdom to be gleaned from it because you can get a sense of what things were like at the time, even if it's not 100% one-to-one accurate. Okay, let's continue. The whole world will hunt y'all down, says Raven. Really? The whole world will hunt me down? I don't stand a chance then. Maybe I do, just maybe. Neve says you can do, hey Neve, good to see you again. You can do a DNA test in Israel. They actually developed the test. Yes, people love to spout bullshit. People love to run their mouths knowing absolutely nothing about anything, and yet acting with the most confidence. They just love doing that, Neve. Yes, that is correct. It's not illegal. You can do a DNA test in Israel. It is regulated, but it's not illegal in any way. Hamed says, isn't there something in the Talmud about permitting you to be dishonest when it prevents you shame, with an example given of soiling your bed sheets? Well, first of all, this idea of shame and human dignity is mentioned many times in halacha, what's called kvod habriot, the dignity of beings. And permitting you to be dishonest when it prevents shame. You know what? You'll have to actually give me the source. I don't know offhand where that appears, what the context is, nor do I know if it actually became rabbinic law, halacha, right? Because you have different things that are mentioned in the Talmud that did not end up being halacha. You have different things mentioned in the Talmud that are there as tidbits, bits and pieces of lore, legend, myth, folklore, and that are not even meant to be in the context of the back and forth, the conversation and the debate on the nature of halacha. So you'll have to give me the source on that, Hames. I'd love to know. What part of Russia are you from? I'm not from Russia, Martin. Why are you? The whole world will hunt you down, says Async. Yes, people have said that. I could not care any less about those. Oh, whoops, I gotta mute my phone. Yes, call him back.
On your phone?
What do you mean? No, not from my phone. I'm live. You can't use my phone. Wait, you know what? I'll mute my phone so it doesn't ring again. Hang on a sec. Okay. I'll tell you. You need to find your phone, you need to charge it, and you need to give your friends your phone number and not my phone number. And that way this will be... Yes. Okay, let's continue. Can you explain... Oh, wait, who is this? Kunal, no, not Kunal. Oh, hi, Kunal. Good to see you again. G-Controller. G-Controller. Can you explain to me how I become a monk like you? So Nazir and monk are not the same thing, although in Hebrew, for instance, a Buddhist monk or a Christian nun or friar, or right, they're called monks. They're called Nazirim. But a Nazir is not exactly a monk. Well, what do you mean? Let's put it this way, Control G. Does it calm me down mentally to be a Nazir? Definitely. It doesn't mean that I don't have troubles. It doesn't mean that I don't have any obstacles. It doesn't mean that I don't sin, fall, transgress. I never do it in a way of rebelling against the Most High, but I am a human being with my own faults and my own shortcomings and my own frailties that I am working on. Is it something that is margi'a nafshit? Does it calm me down mentally? I would have to say most definitely yes, because I know that despite my inadequacies, the place that I'm shooting for, right? And the crown of the Nazarite that I'm seeking to attain, and I never will, right? It's an ideal that keeps furthering itself away from me as I move closer to it. It's something so unbelievable, right? The root of the Nazariteship is about life itself. The root of the Nazariteship is about Eden itself. The root of the Nazariteship is about sanctifying life and sanctifying oneself. So each and every Nazarite that I've spoken to have arrived at the Nazariteship in a different way, maybe have taken a different vow. There are 4 different types of Nazarites. How do you become a Nazarite? You make a vow. That's it. That's all that you need to do. Now, your mind, your heart, and your speech need to be aligned. You can't simply say the words and not mean it, because then that vow does not count as a Nazarite vow. Your heart and your mind and your speech need to all be aligned. That's also what it says in the book of Hafla'ah, in Hilchot Nezirut, right? The laws of the Nazarite-ship by the Rambam, by Maimonides. Okay. Why the Talmud speaks ill of Yeshu of Nazareth, says Yod Little. Well, a few reasons I would think, though I don't know precisely. First of all, it's unclear whether Yeshu HaNotzri is that actual Jesus of Nazareth or not. Different people were from Nazareth, different people were called Notzrim, different people were called Yeshua. That's actually his name.
Then how will I call him?
Dude, you won't call him. You need to have your phone and give your friends your phone number.
But I have no idea where my phone number is, and I have no idea where my phone is.
Well, that's too bad. No, kapara alecha. No, not happening. You need to have your phone instead of going to look for it now. For instance, you're here on the computer.
No, because I don't have no idea where it is. Why?
Yes. Do you know how you'll know where it is? By looking for it.
You know how you'll make it way easier by just
Listen, man. Listen. There's no 2 ways about it. You lost it. You can find it. Anything else that you say is just an excuse to not.
Charged.
Anything else. Oh, now see. Now you're moving the goalpost. Now it's not charged.
I know where it is. But
Listen,
it's not charged.
listen. So you know where it is. Find a charger, make a move, go, get after
I have
it.
no idea where the charger is.
Listen, these are all excuses. No. Don't yell at me, please. What you are making are excuses. Leah, you're not behaving properly at all right now. Leah, don't do it. Okay. That's my dad's favorite word, no. Well, you know, Manuel, when I give him a no, I'll usually back it up, even if I don't have to. I'll give him my reasons. I'll give him my reasons for my no, right? Sometimes when he pushes me too far, it's like, that's a no, I said so, that's it, take it or leave it. And if you take it, great, and if you don't, there are consequences. But right now, I definitely gave him my reasons for the no. Eden shields nothing to be respected by his own child. Well, I don't know if you have children or not. I don't know if you have children or not, but they can be bratty. Right? Children can be bratty, adults can be bratty. Wait, somebody's calling? Okay, we're good. Let's continue. Raven says, read Talmud, everyone. Why should everyone read Talmud? If they want to know halacha, they can read the Talmud, but that's not where halacha is. That's where rabbinic law is derived from. But if you want to read the halacha, read books of halacha. If you want to read the different arguments and the controversies, the debates and the discussions on how halacha came to pass, how it came to be, and where it came from, then yes, read the Mishnah, read the Talmud. Incidentally, as you read it, keep in mind you were never supposed to read it. It was never supposed to be written down. It was supposed to remain oral. It was supposed to continue, evolve, progress, keep going with society, right, throughout time. The fact that it was written down is not a good thing. It was the lesser of 2 evils. It was either write down the oral traditions or have them lost in the exile. Okay. The great words of Borat, throw the Jew down the well so we can be free. Yes, Yuri, throw the Jew down the well. That's right. That's exactly right. He's not being bratty, says Josh. He's possibly jealous of the thing that has your attention and wants to be included. No, that's definitely not it. His friend is calling my telephone. I told him, and he's saying it has nothing to do with it either. No, it's nothing to do with it. But he has my attention. He had my attention this morning. He had my attention.
Can you tell me his number?
Fine. Hang on. The screen might go blank for a moment while I do this. Hang on a second. Let's see. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Wait. Can I do this? I wonder. I'm back. Yes, back. Okay, good. Here we are. So, Hamid says, disagree respectfully, guys. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Okay. Kunal says, thanks for helping me yesterday in comments. Hey, it's all good. I enjoy the back and forth. You know, that's how I roll. Do Muslims worship the same God as Jews? Some say yes and some say no. Halachically speaking, according to rabbinic law, you are allowed to pray in a mosque, according to most halachic rulers, whereas you're not allowed to pray in a church. That should give you an idea of what it is that, where the idea is. Theologically speaking, if you will, there is some, theologically speaking, there is some relevance, there is some similarity. There is some similarity between the Muslims and the Jews, right? As far as theology is concerned and the concept of God. Now you see, how long did it take you? 2 minutes? No, I'm serious, man. You yelled at me? Are you even going to apologize for yelling at me when it took you less than 2 minutes? Because that's not cool. Remember that. That's not cool. Remember that maybe when I say something, maybe just do it. Instead of spending time yelling at me. Okay. Mossad calling, bro, says Abejdo or Abedo. People, you ignorant people. Mossad is international. Shabak Shin Bet is local. Do you not know anything? As long as you can just spout your asinine opinions. Oh, Mossad is calling. Mossad is international. Shin Bet is local. Get your head out of your ass. If you're going to say stupid things, and I have great sympathy for you, I say stupid things all the time. To wit, case in point. But at least say things with some sort of, something behind them. Mossad is international. They are an intelligence agency. If anybody would be calling me right now, it would not be Mossad. Mossad would be calling you. Mossad would not be calling me. Okay. Let's continue. Hi, it's Ellie. Hi, Ellie. Nazarite, is your son not doing what he's told? No, he's just doing his job. He's a kid. Sometimes he's doing what he's told. Sometimes he doesn't. And, that's the way that it goes. He tests me, and it's my test, right? I test him, he tests me. That's how we see it. If I annoyed my father this much, he would have brutally yelled at me. Well, yelling, look, sometimes I raise my voice. What do I always say? That I need to work on my anger. I need to keep my emotions in check. I need to leave my ego aside. And it's things like this, right? It's things like this, because you hurt the ones you love, right? It's like I can be cool as a cucumber online or in person with people that I'm having discussions with, and that's all well and good. I come home and one of my kids gets on my nerves, and yeah, I could raise my voice and I could be a dick. But I'm really, really trying to keep myself in check, leave my ego aside, breathe, be less angry, not yell, right? And not terrorize people here in the home, because that's not my goal. Right? My goal as a father is to guide and instruct and set an example, and I am still working on it. But I did have a point about what happened here just now. It did literally take this kid like about 90 seconds or so.
Please stop talking about me in your life.
You're the one who interrupted the live, so I'm going to talk about it.
No, don't.
Well, then next time don't interrupt me, and we won't have anything to talk about. What say you?
So don't talk.
Cool?
Okay.
Cool. Do you like potatoes? Yes, I do like potatoes. I like potatoes mashed, boiled, stick them in a stew. Okay. Do you practice tikkun olam, brother, says Andy. How do you practice tikkun olam? What do you consider to be tikkun olam? The rectifying of the world or the repairing of the world or the adorning of the world, there are two facets to tikkun. Tikkun means repair or rectification. Tikkun also means adornment. So there is getting things back to the way they were, and then there is taking them beyond what they were. And tikkun, tikkun is both of those things. So what do you mean by practice tikkun olam? How does one practice tikkun olam, Andy Turbo? I'm curious. Is it true Israel is committing a genocide? No, it is not true. Not the actions of a genocide, not the intent of a genocide, and not the numbers of a genocide. That is verifiably false, right? And categorically untrue. Are there individual people who, if they had their way, would be genocidal? Yes. Are there individual soldiers who might actually be psychopathic, who want to kill people? Yes. Does Israel do it? No. Does the government do it? No. Does the army do it? No. Individual people might do it. They should be brought to justice. They should be put on trial. They should definitely not be in the army or in any place of commanding others or dictating policy. So, yeah. Kunal, I heard you, man. I heard you. I already responded. I said thank you for participating. Josh says, oh fuck, what part of YouTube have I ended up on? Oh, you have no idea. Do Jews marry? Yes, Jews marry. It is one of the very, very high and mighty mitzvahs. It's a great commandment to marry. Do you practice Krav Maga? Uday says, I haven't practiced Krav Maga since the army, so no, I don't. Death is death, says Async. Yes, death is death. What does that even mean? That's like saying rules are rules. It is what it is. Business is business. I'm paraphrasing Jerry Seinfeld. Manuel says, if we just sit and listen, we could change the world in a good way. Well, sitting and listening is one thing. The problem is you also need to actually carry things out and act in the world. So yes, sitting and listening is good for a time. You need to keep an open mind, an open ear, an open heart, and that could do a lot of good in the world. I agree. Yes, it's a genocide proven by UN. False. They did not prove any such thing. Amnesty, also false. Human Rights Watch, again false. South Africa started a court case for the atrocities. I didn't say that there are no atrocities being carried out. I said there is no genocide being carried out. You're moving the goalposts. No, there is no genocide. Are there individual people carrying out atrocities? Unfortunately, likely. And they should be brought to justice and put on trial. On that we are agreed. But there's no evidence of a genocide. Name one genocide where the population actively grew, like by many, many percentages. Name one. Name one genocide where the people who are doing the genociding are actually designating humanitarian zones and letting medicine and food and aid in to those, right, to aid the people there. No such thing. What are you talking about? And even if we grant the proposition and say that there is such a thing as a genocide, the numbers don't reflect a genocide, nor does the intent. Okay. Where is your wife? She is at work. Living dead girl. She is at work. And I'm going to go to work after I finish this. XAR says, largest difference between Israel culture and the West. What's something you find weird about the West? I mean, I don't know enough about Western societies as such, even though Israel is considered a first world Western country. I wouldn't presume, right? It's still the Middle East. I wouldn't presume to know. I mean, look, I lived in Amsterdam, or right next to Amsterdam, for 3 years. Even then, I wouldn't presume to say anything about Europe or the US, Canada, right? The largest difference in culture, the Middle East is a lot more aggressive. The Middle East is a lot more aggressive, right? Europe and America, and by that I mean mostly North America, have been able to actually come to agreements. And there's a European Union, for crying out loud, after like millennia of war in that continent, all over the place. They were able to come together and make peace in such a short time after the bloodiest world war, the bloodiest war period that humanity had ever seen, or just about. I'm pretty sure it was the bloodiest one, right? World War II being the bloodiest war that, and a few decades after that, there was a consensus of no more war, at least until Russia and Ukraine erupted. But they're not members of, right? I'm just saying, it's something unbelievable. Middle East is wild, wild west, sad, beautiful countries. They are beautiful countries, I'm sure, and I know some of them. SMS says you are talking blah, blah, just shh. SMS, notice the foolish contradiction here. You are coming to some dumbass's live stream telling them to be quiet. Do you understand how foolish and self-contradicting you are? Do you understand what an asinine thing that is to say? Now, first of all, you don't want to be here? That's cool. Swipe away. Swipe away. That's your prerogative. You can swipe away, dislike, report, do whatever the hell you want. This is the internet. Speaking of the wild, wild west, this is the interwebs. You don't have to be here. That's what's so great. You can go boop and swipe away, right? As for me talking blah, 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 no, that's just you being ignorant and having no leg to stand on and having no actual argument to put forth, nor the data, nor the research or citation to put anything of substance, anything of consequence. So all you can do is say, oh, you're blah, blah, blah. That just reveals your stupidity, your ignorance, your lack of any kind of comprehension, and your lack of an argument. That's all that does. Cut your hair, pro. Well, I'm assuming you meant bro. No, I'm a Nazarite. Nazarites do not cut their hair. Valid says a growing population can still be subjected to genocide. According to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, genocide is defined by the intent to destroy. I said there's no intent. What are you blathering about? If there was an intent, then the war would be over in 2 days because we would carry out that intent in earnest. People, those of you who are crying genocide, A, have probably never been here. B, probably don't know. He's calling you. Call him back. Hang on. Okay. B, now I'm not being condescending. I'm being truthful. The vast majority of people crying genocide wouldn't know how to define genocide, and even if you do, so what? And that's one Holocaust Memorial Museum's definition. Since when is that anything, I mean, it could be, but since when is that anything of definition for everyone else? But let's grant that and say that it is. You haven't been here, you haven't seen it. All you care about is Israel bad, Hamas good, or Palestine good. You don't actually care. Excuse me? Yes, I'm telling you, I see his number on my screen. Call him back. Not now, call him back. Or text him. Okay. So, the intent to destroy a protected group in whole or in part. So, first of all, once you elect a terrorist regime as your leader, you lose that protection when they embed themselves into the civilian population. That is a choice Hamas is making for its population. Hamas decided, we are not going to actually build a Palestinian state. Hell no. No, it's not your computer to take. You can't take it. Hamas decided in 2005, after Israel unilaterally withdrew from Gaza, we're not going to build a Palestinian state, we're not going to establish a Palestinian state, we're not going to declare independence, we're not going to invest any money, resources, energy into our population. No. We will threaten the people to elect us democratically, and they were elected in 2006, and 20 years now, no election in Gaza, because they are a death cult, a warmongering, bloodthirsty dictatorship, a religious dictatorship at that. They don't want elections, they don't want their population to grow, they don't want their population, I don't mean in numbers they do, more people to sacrifice for their cause. What I mean to say is to grow in quality of life, in actual thriving instead of surviving. Hamas wants to keep its population in squalor and poverty so they can blame Israel for all of its woes while stealing the population's humanitarian aid, stealing their money, ruling them with an iron fist. And a moment after Hamas came to power, what did they do? They killed their opposition, like the murderous dictator pieces of shit that they are. When are you going to be back? Okay, be in touch. Are you taking your phone? Okay, just be in touch. So, there was no intent to destroy a group in whole or in part. That's a lie. There is an intent to destroy Hamas. Hamas are a rogue terrorist organization who is not beholden to any international law. They don't give a crap about anything other than death, martyrdom. That's it. That's all they care about. And lining their pockets and bank accounts with money from their population, money from humanitarian aid. Okay. MSG says, will the Jewish Messiah be considered the Antichrist by Christians? You'll have to ask Christians, of course. I have no idea what Messiah will be to the Christians. No idea at all. Let's see. I'm coming down. Okay. Kunal says, meaning of the name of Reuven and Yehuda. Reuven means look a son. It has to do with sight. Reu means see. Yehuda has to do with thankfulness. That's what it is. And it has God's name in it, right? Yod Hei Vav Hei. Hey, Mad Hatter is here. How you doing, Mad Hatter? Lumir says, does the third temple need to be built by Mashiach? No, it does not. It needs to be built by people. If it wants to be built, people will have to build it. Or do the Jews need to build it for the Mashiach in first place? No, Mashiach is just a king. Mashiach is an anointed king. He's a messenger. That's all that he is. Maybe he will come first and then a temple. Maybe a temple and then a king. Maybe not a king and not a temple. And we'll be able to bypass all of the middlemen and all of the middle buildings and places of dwelling. In Eden, remember, there was no temple or tabernacle. There were no priests or Levites or Israelites. There was no ritual worship. There wasn't a kingdom nor an anointed sovereign king. There was just humanity, nature, the divine revelation. That's it. In the course of history and through the course of time and all that, then we needed buildings, and we needed ritual worship, and we needed priests and Levites and Israelites and kings and sages and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We don't need any of that from the onset. We don't need any of that to begin with. We were kicked out of Eden, this is true. But if we bring enough Edenic elements and pull them down into creation and bring right heaven on earth, so to speak, we will be able to bypass the need for the middlemen, kings, priests, right? We will be able to bypass the building that is a place of dwelling. We are the original tabernacle. We, humanity, are the original temple. We are that place of divine image, of God's dwelling, so to speak, insofar as it dwells in the human being. From which religion are you from? I am a Hebrew man. Shaykh Kanadi, in the Hebrew land. That's what I am. Why did the Jews worship a golden calf? Uday, they worshiped the golden calf because they wanted something tangible. They came from Egypt at the time, where it was all idols and worship of that sort of thing. And it was very, very difficult for the Israelites, presumably, to continue worshiping a God that they did not see and whose revelation of speech they only heard at Sinai. Despite all the miracles and despite all the things that were outside of the realm of what they would consider possible naturally and so forth, they still needed something. Now, what did they do? They did not say that the golden calf, right, as a calf is God. They said, Ele Elohecha Israel, this is your God, O Israel, meaning they were aiming at the right thing. They were aiming in the wilderness, right, to have something tangible, to have something that they could actually see. I don't fault them for that. That is one interpretation on why they would worship the golden calf. Second of all, the calf represents material wealth, physical, right, prosperity, and right. So that's also in the wilderness after the Exodus from Egypt. That would also explain why it's a golden calf, right? That was erected and that was worshipped. That's just a quickie on my quick take on why. Poor mentally ill you, says Louis, Everin. Yes, I am indeed. I'm not poor. Thank God for that. I am very wealthy. I am a little mentally ill, and that's okay, right? We're never going to survive unless we get a little crazy. That's what Seal says. I say it every time. Thoughts on Rabbi Mizrahi, says Abedo. So people have been asking me, what about Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi? What about Rabbi Mizrahi? I have no idea. I've never fully listened to any one of his speeches or sermons or Torah lessons. I have no thoughts on Rabbi Mizrahi. I have been told he is a harsh and very cut-to-the-chase individual. I've also been told by certain people that he makes a fool of himself sometimes, and, he's only human. I don't know what to say to that. But okay. I have no thoughts on him because I don't know him. SMS, who is still here, by the way, you're welcome to stay. I'm looking for a back and forth. If you want to say that I'm all blah, 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 by all means, but let's see what you said now. Man, you talk a lot. Yes, I do. Just admit that Palestine is a real state. I don't mind that it would have been. Listen, if when Israel disengaged from Gaza, Hamas would have established a Palestinian state, I would have been fine with that. If in 1947, the UN partition plan would have been accepted by both parties, the Jews and the Muslim Arabs, And I would have been fine with that. If Jordan, from 1948 till 1967, when they ruled East Jerusalem and the West Bank of the Jordan, if they would have established a Palestinian state, I would have been okay with that. If Egypt, who ruled Gaza from 48 to 67, would have established a Palestinian state, I would have been okay with that. If the Palestinian leadership after the Oslo Accords would have established a Palestinian state, I would have been okay with that. If the Palestinian leadership afterwards would have accepted any of the dozen or so peace plans that were on the table that Israel offered, or at very least proffered to them, if they would have accepted it, bit by bit, deal by deal, agreement by agreement, accord by accord, to start with something and declare a Palestinian state, I would have been okay with that too. But they don't want a state. They want the Jews not to have a state. They want Israel gone. They don't want an actual state for their people, because that would actually force them to give up their refugee status that's hereditary. They are the only ones in the world out of billions who get this hereditary refugee status, which is crap. The only ones. They are so special, are they? And it would actually force them to be a functioning society and not be another failed Arab state. And that is putting a lot of responsibility on them. And their leaders don't want that. They want to focus the attention on the Zionist enterprise and on the Jews, on the colonial, pig dog occupiers, whatever bullshit that is. And they don't want to actually take responsibility. They don't want to take accountability. They just want war and death and poverty and squalor for their people, and for the death toll to rise, and for Allah's name to be praised with all these shaheeds. They have nothing. They have nothing. Now, the leaders are in deep shit. But the ones who are in even deeper shit are the actual innocent people. And there are many innocent people in the West Bank of the Jordan, Judea and Samaria, and in Gaza. Right? There are innocent people there, men and women and children, who are stuck between a terrorist organization and the IDF, and they didn't start this war. They don't want this war. They just want to live in peace. They want to work for a living, provide for their families, have some dignity. Their leaders won't let them have it because they are too busy warmongering. They are too busy spreading their death cult propaganda. You occupied Palestine, says SMS. You cannot occupy your own ancestral home. All we did is return to the land of Zion. That is all we did. You seem to have a big problem with that, so go kick some rocks. This is the truth. Don't talk too much. Very well, let's grant that proposition. Let's say that Israel is an occupying force. Arab Muslims, that's what they understand. Force, power, the sword. That's what they understand. That's what they respect. This has been true throughout the entirety of history. But now that they have figured out how to use propaganda, now they're crying victim. Oh no, the Zionists. Blah, 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 blah. You don't get to start a war repeatedly and lose it repeatedly and then cry victim. You don't get to do that. You don't get to be a terrorist organization, several terrorist organizations, and go after civilian targets, blow up buses, knife people in the street, run people over with a car, kidnap people, rape and pillage and plunder, and then cry victim. You don't get to do that. You don't get to have both ways. And you certainly don't get to say that Israel is a terrorist Zionist state when you yourself are a terrorist organization that is not beholden to any international law, and you have barely any local law because you make up your own rules as you go along. They have no leg to stand on. Not a thing. So what do I want with this? It's not a question of truth, speaking of truth and lies in the Torah. The truth is that there has been a Jewish presence here in the land for thousands of years. The truth is that there have been other people here present in the land. The Jews accepted this. That's why we accepted the partition plan. The Jews accepted this. That is why we went, right? That is why we left Lebanon. That is why we left Gaza. That is why we offered Gaza to Egypt in the peace accords. That is why we offered the Palestinian leadership Gaza, the West Bank, East Jerusalem as a capital. We offered this to them a few times, and each time they did not want it. They are not interested in peace. They are not interested in a state. They're not interested in having a normative society. They are only interested in death to the Jews, death to the colonial, occupying, Zionist, pig, dog, apes, ba 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 ba. They're full of shit. And they are using people, speaking of culture in the West and the East, they are using people for their own sinister, truly abhorrent purposes. all the while pissing all over their population and telling them it's rain. So that's not cool, and I don't abide. I do not abide. Okay. Bro doesn't remember the fact that 98% of Israeli Jews came from Europe. That is bullshit. It's 50-50 sort of, with more than 50. I think it's closer to 51 or 2% being Mizrahi Jews. So again, do your research. Bro doesn't remember the fact. The fact is you are full of crap. And you are just spreading misinformation oh so confidently, as if you know what you're talking about. People, Google it right now. How many Israeli Jews come from Ashkenaz, Europe, Eastern Europe? How many of them, or just Europe? And how many of them come from Arab countries, right? Asia, Africa, Mizrahi Jews? You'll see it's about 50-50, with closer leaning 51 or 2% towards Mizrahi Jews. So you're full of crap. You're spreading disinformation, misinformation, whatever the term is, and you're doing it so confidently all the while, you like so many others before you, just openly displaying your arrogance, your bias, right? Your racism, your hate, your bigotry, your willingness to sacrifice what is actually true, what is actually real, just to say something that is completely false. Why on earth would you want to do that? Do you not understand that you are pathologizing your very own being and your very own consciousness when you utter these lies so confidently that are actual falsehoods, all the while thinking that you're on the right side of history, you are the righteous ones, you are fighting for the underdog? It's people like you who would be rooting for Nazi Germany in World War II because more Germans were killed and more buildings were destroyed in Germany. That's your logic. That is your reasoning. Or people who say such things, if not necessarily you. Vyrek says, I Googled it, it said 3 million. Yes. It's about 50-50 with the Jews, right? There are 2 million Arabs here, Muslims and Christians, a few 100,000, I would think, or dozens of thousands of others, and, right, something like 8 million Jews. And it kind of goes 50-50 almost, with leaning more towards Mizrahi Jews. That's actually it. Okay. Jews killed their own prophets speaks volumes of how peaceful they are. Yes, that's right. Many prophets were killed. Prophets were persecuted. Prophets were put to death by the people because the prophet brought the word of God to the people. And many people don't want to hear the word of God. Many people don't want to be confronted with their own misgivings. They don't want to be confronted with their own actions and misdeeds. They don't want to be proven wrong by somebody, so they'd rather just quiet the conscience that is embodied in the prophet by killing them, and that is a very wrong thing to do. As for that it speaks volumes of how peaceful they are, I disagree on general principle, because I think that even though prophets were killed at the time, right now, it has no bearing on how peaceful the Israeli society is now, how much it goes towards peace. Israel has made many concessions. Israel has offered many accords, agreements, and deals for many, many years. Israel has peace with Jordan, with Egypt, with Bahrain, with Morocco. Peace will come, and more people will join the Abraham Accords, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, right? Yemen, Lebanon, everybody, right? The occupied Palestinian territories, all of these will join eventually. They will all join the Abraham Accords eventually, and we will have maybe tenuous at first, but actual peace, and that will be a great day. It will be a great day. Okay, let's continue. LOL, they don't want to be told. God told me to tell you that I need more money. Prophets aren't real. Well, Michael, feel free to think prophecy isn't real. That's all well and good. Prophecy was taken away from the people of Israel. The spirit of prophecy was taken away at the beginning of the Second Temple era, meaning for over 2,000 years we have been without the proper spirit of prophecy and proper prophets. What there is a lower form of prophecy called spirit of sacredness, or Ruach HaKodesh. That's kind of like a wellspring of knowledge, information that you can sort of gain things from. It's not proper prophecy. It's a lower form of revelation. So in that sense, you are right. They're not a real reality here and now, and they will be in the future when the Spirit makes a comeback. And it is poised to make a comeback any day now. Okay. War crime sympathizer, says Fitpaul. Once again, you're full of shit. I say that people who do commit war crimes should be brought to justice and put on trial. See, it's this type of thing. People come to this live stream. They don't know who I am or what I'm about. All they see is that it's some sort of a Jew. And that's it. They already know the entire story. Jew detected, opinion rejected, that whole thing. Or as Borat would say, Jew in vicinity. And so they think, again, that they know what they're talking about. They really, really don't. And they proudly, vainly display their arrogance, their stupidity, their misunderstanding, their lack of comprehension. And they see this as a badge of honor because they seem to think that they are speaking out of righteousness and speaking, again, for the underdog. And it's so lame. It's lame not in the sense that people are dying and that's wrong. I'm on board with that. It's lame in the sense that they think that I'm a war crime sympathizer because I say that Israel is fighting a defensive war against an illegitimate terrorist organization that has vowed to kill each and every one of us. And I'm pretty sure that if there was several terrorist organizations that were coming at you relentlessly, you would want to defend yourself. If self-preservation is an actual instinct you possess, if survival is something that is actually part of your genetic makeup, and likely it is, you would be doing the same. No other sovereign country, no other nation has undergone what we have undergone without retaliation. And so then, because Israel has a stronger army, because it actually has an army, then they say, oh, it's David and Goliath or some bullshit. It really, really is the lowest of the low when it comes to logical thinking. The fallacies write themselves with these people who think that just because more people are dying on the other side, that we are not right in defending our country, our civilians. They think that just because there's more destruction going on there, it's because obviously we are the aggressors, we are the bullies, we are wrong, we are Goliath and they are David. And they try to simplify this in their sort of woke-like narrative of oppressor and oppressed, of victim and predator, of, or prey and predator, victim and victimizer. They think that there's no nuance whatsoever. They are unable, because they are so thick-minded, they are unable to see that there may be more to it than they think. They are definitely unable to see past the time frame which they have deemed worthy of their attention. It's like, how far back do we go? 3 years? 30 years? 300 years? 30,000 years? How far back do we go? When did this actually begin? Depending on the time frame where you choose to say it began here, that's how you will choose to relate to this situation in the Middle East. And so it's very easy for people who think that this situation started in 48 or 67, right, or the 90s. It's very easy for them to say, oh, Israel is a blah, 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 blah. They don't actually know history. They don't actually know what went on here in the region. They don't know that the massacres in the Jews and the persecution against Jews in Israel goes back to the 1830s, more than 100 years before the establishment of the State of Israel. They don't know that the Palestinian leadership was offered the borders of 1967, which is what they said they wanted all along. Oh, occupiers, 1967. That was offered to them. They rejected it unequivocally, without even coming to the negotiation table. All of that they ignore. They also ignore the peace we have with Jordan and Egypt. They ignore the fact that we withdrew from Gaza. They ignore the fact that we withdrew from Lebanon. They ignore the fact that Israel has given humanitarian aid. They ignore so many things just to confirm their own misguided biases. Now, again, I have some sympathy for them. We all have some sort of confirmation bias. But to have such a confirmation bias where you are blinded to things that are glaringly in front of you, you refuse to see a different time frame, you refuse to think that maybe I should be critiquing the narrative of a terrorist organization. These people have very little brain. Once again, I do too. I am a bear of very little brain, just like Edward Bear, just like Winnie the Pooh. I am a bear of very little brain. However, I'm not making these types of proclamations. The things that I say have been backed up by history, documented facts, verifiable truths. And if they are not truths, okay, then come on, push back against me, but at least bring something of substance that we can have the discussion, not just, you're wrong, you're a liar, you're a war crime sympathizer. That is such, It's very low level, low quality, low resolution argument. Really, it is. And I'm not here to debate. I'm here to have conversations, right? I'm not here to convince you I'm right and everyone else is wrong, much in the same way that I'm not looking to convince you that the Hebrew faith is correct and all other religions are crap. No, they're all equally correct. They're all equally crap. Each religion has its own thing where it shines and when it sucks. Okay. Let's continue. Nasty boy, says Murky14. Oh, you have no idea how nasty I am. Let's continue. But you're justifying war crimes. No, I'm not, Bradley Bear. Israel is fighting a defensive war. War crimes are forbidden according to local and international law. If there are war crimes being perpetrated by individual soldiers, individual leaders, things like that, they should be brought to justice and put on trial. Crimes, right? War crimes, crimes against humanity, the different atrocities that Israel is being blamed for. Right? Once the dust settles and we are actually able to see what's going on, and once the fog of war dissipates and we're able to see what happened to the degree that the layman civilian can, then we will be able to say, yes, I don't accept the Zionist Israeli government's narrative blindly. I critique the government, I critique the army, I critique the state and the establishment. I don't think that they are 100% right. I know they tell the people what the people need to hear, what the people want to hear. They want to engineer the minds of the Israeli people to follow the party line. I know this. By the time I read or hear any news, it's already propaganda. I know this. I take it with a grain of hummus. I take it with a grain of salt. I take it with a grain of paprika. But it seems that most of these people who come at me, they will just take anything Hamas says. Oh yeah, that's absolute truth for sure. Yeah, just bring it. Let's continue. PDF country? Do you mean portable document file country? Is that what you mean? Why do you want the Americans' army then? What do you mean, why do we want the Americans' army? I don't know what you're talking about. I really, really don't. But okay. Wash your beard, Dark Smoke King. You know, for a king, your spelling is a little off, but that's okay. It's the internet, and you're probably not a native speaker, so that's fine, or writer. I did wash my beard just a couple of hours ago. Okay. The Techina, I like Techina. The promised land was conditional, LOL. See, you may LOL as much as you want. I didn't make any reference to any promised land. I didn't make any reference to any covenant that promised us the land. I didn't make any allusion to Israel being anything other than our ancestral home. I did not bring up religion. I did not bring up the idea that we were promised this land by God. The land belongs to the Creator. That's it. That's how I see it. We were given stewardship of it. We were given the caretaker position of it, just like humanity is the stewards of the world, the caretakers of the earth and of all creation. So I didn't say promised land. You did, which makes everything you're about to say that I will read dog shit, because you're coming at me with things that I didn't say. And then you're building up a straw man in order to tear it down when I didn't even say such things. This is classic dumbass behavior. Now, again, I have great sympathy being a dumbass myself towards other dumbasses. But I don't erect straw man arguments on the other side. I call it like I see it. You are being disingenuous. You are being dishonest. You don't get to take the land when God said no anyway because your ancestors couldn't follow simple instructions, says the Techina. And all they did was complain to God constantly. I have no idea what you're talking about. This has nothing to do with anything, as I said. Second of all, the Torah itself states if you're going to bring up the promised land and the Torah, at least know what the fuck you're talking about, which you don't. The Torah itself says that if you transgress and if you don't follow the Torah and its commandments and the covenants therein, you will eventually, after disease and pestilence and siege and anything, you will be kicked out and you will be making a comeback every time. That is the biblical origin of Zionism. That is the Mosaic Torah origin of Zionism in the book of Deuteronomy, which means that you're picking and choosing. And again, I pick and choose too. But you can't deny the fact that Zionism has its roots in the Hebrew Torah, in the Hebrew Bible. And so if you're going to pick and choose, I'll pick and choose as well. Okay, let's continue. You just ignore the comments. That's they say. Why do you want American army? You know what I'm talking? I really, really don't. You might think I'm ignoring your comments. What do you mean by we want American army? A, we have our own army here. B, America has a vested interest in helping Israel out and vice versa. C, we have joint operations with the American army and with other foreign militaries, and so I don't know what you're talking about. You seem to think I'm just ignoring, when in fact, I think what you're saying is not a question or any kind of viable comment that I can relate to or address, because I don't know what you're talking about. And if you choose to say, oh, you're just pretending, that's on you, that's not on me. Okay. Read a book on educated puppets, says Neve. Yes, we should all be reading more books. Zionism is the problem, not Judaism, Akira says. Well, Akira, many people echo what you're saying. The thing is that modern-day Zionism and biblical Zionism, right, they both have their good parts and their not so good parts. And even if we grant that and say that Zionism is a problem, if it's a problem, why did the Jews accept 1947's partition plan? Why did the Jews make the land blossom and the desert bloom, right? Why did the Jews give land for peace? Why did the Jews make offers for peace? Why did the Jews sign any agreement with Jordan or with Egypt or with the PLO at the time, right, headed by Arafat? Why did we make offers of even East Jerusalem as a capital? Why? That's Zionism. That's Judaism. That's it. And if you try to pull them apart and say they're different, you'll have to make a very good case of why they are different and where. But Zionism is rooted in the Torah. Torah is, right, the book of the Jewish faith primarily is the Torah. And so if you try to pull Zionism and Judaism apart, maybe you'll be able to do it when it comes to modern day Zionism for sure. Biblical Zionism, Deuteronomy Zionism, Torah Zionism, no. It is inextricably, inherently part of the Hebrew faith, and you won't be able to pull those apart. Arabs reported on the channel, says SMS. I don't know what you mean, Arabs reported on the channel. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know this whole reported thing. People report, people are reported. I have no idea. Just a dude with questions. My guy, I love that username. Very good. Sir, can you address the fact that Jewish people only got the geopolitical landscape of Israel after World War I? No, that is not true. It's our ancestral home. There was always a Jewish presence here. The reason why the Balfour Declaration and everything that came from there is because Christians, after World War I ended, and after the Ottoman Empire fell, and they were the rulers here for hundreds of years, and then the British Empire received a mandate over Transjordan and Palestine. Right? Transjordan was the region across the river, and Palestine was what Rome 2,000 years ago called Syria Palestina, right? And they were given a mandate. They did not annex the land. They did not make it part of the British Empire. They received the mandate here. Other nations who won World War I received different mandates in other areas, or at the very least, right, some sort of control or oversight, right? They were overseers. If they didn't receive a proper mandate, though I'm pretty sure they did. But Jews only got geopolitical landscape after World War I because at the time of after World War I, several major empires fell, and the time of the empires was coming to an end, and the countries were starting to gain more power, and so there was a need for more countries to be created. The UN, right, there was the League of Nations at the time, and then after World War II, the UN, the League of Nations always saw the land of Israel as the ancestral home of the Jews. Look it up. The League of Nations was definitely on board with that, as was the United Nations, which followed it. So there's no argument about that. This slice of land was seen not exclusively the Jewish homeland, but also the Jewish homeland. Were there other people here? Yes. Were they Jewish? No. Should they stay here? Yes. Side by side, within us, definitely, in love and peace and prosperity. May it be so. May it be so. But some people don't want that. And yet, they also don't want something for themselves. They just want the Jews not to have a state, like I said. Okay, let's continue. Zionism in the Torah is different from the Zionism created after 1897. No, modern-day Zionism was created before 1897. Yes, there is a difference. The biblical Zionism, the Zionism in the Torah, is based on the Torah. The modern-day Zionism of the mid-19th century is based on the Enlightenment, on secular ideas, on socialist ideas, and mainly on the idea of historical Jewish presence in the land. They said, we don't care about the Torah, we don't care about the God, there is no God, this was our home, we want to go back home. Forget the divine promise, forget the Torah, forget the covenant that never existed, it's all a bunch of crap. We are socialist, secular, enlightened thinkers who want to go back home. And we have maintained a presence there. Jews have maintained a presence in Israel for over 3,000 years. That's not by chance. We want to go home, regardless of the Torah, regardless of any God, regardless of any covenant. So yes, there is a difference, but they both are forms of Zionism. Both are very, very valid. Okay. Borat would be scared of you, says Bijat Duk. I don't think so. I think Borat and I would get along. Very nice. Israel killed over 80,000 civilians. I love how the numbers keep going up like that. How is this defense? It's defense because Hamas embeds itself into the civilian population with the express intention of raising the death toll. Israel is forced to defend itself. Hamas puts its, weapons caches and its headquarters and its combatants in schools and mosques and homes and underground tunnels and private residences in order to maximize civilian casualties so idiots can come on live streams and say, oh, how is it defense? It's defense because Hamas is a terrorist organization, plain and simple, that has sworn to eradicate the state of Israel. They didn't say anything about establishing a Palestinian state, nor have they made any move towards that. They simply want to eradicate Israel and slaughter all of the Yahud, right? Slaughter the Jews. That's what they want. It's the will of Allah. So that is how it's defense. Because terrorist organizations are attacking civilian. If it was just military targets, I would even say, fine, let's grant that. No, they attack civilians day in and day out. And even after Israel withdrew from Gaza unilaterally over 20 years ago, they decided, no, we don't want to establish a state. We don't want to build a seaside paradise. No, let's just continue the terrorist agenda. And so they got what they deserved. And it's very, very terrible that innocent people are dying in war. That is the nature of war. How is that defense? Do you not know anything about war and combat? Probably not. If you're saying something so stupid like that, how is it defense if people die? Because it's a war. It's a war. You obviously don't know what war is. You've obviously never been in a war zone or a combat zone. And if you have been and you still say that, then you might be a real, true pacifist who simply sees the death toll as the legitimacy to take sides with terrorist organizations. And I pity you. That's a horrible way to think and a terrible way to go through life. Okay. Moshe says, Zionism in the Torah is different from Zionism created after 18 years. I already addressed that. Why are you repeating yourself? Do you agree with the government in Israel? No, not a pro. I want them out. I want to get rid of the current administration. I have not voted in 20 years, and I will be voting in the upcoming election in order to get rid of this government, not solely to get rid of it. If I go through the different candidates and the parties and the platforms and I find that Netanyahu et al. Are still the lesser of all those evils, I won't vote. Just like I haven't voted for 20 years. Because I believe politics is a dirty, vile, toxic, poisonous game that has infighting and division baked right into it. Also, I'm of the opinion that the people who are actually elected democratically into office are not the real movers and shakers. They are puppets. The people pulling their strings are the ones with power, influence, money, authority of some kind who have not been elected by the people. Hence, I don't want to even deal with it. Now, people will say, what? You're shirking your democratic responsibility, your civic duty. I say, okay. Give me a candidate that I can actually stand behind. Give me someone with something that won't be a piece of shit politician who just wants to keep his chair warm. Have you served in the IDF? If so, how was it? Abedo says, yes, I was a field medic and a combat medic. I served in mandatory service and reserve duty. I was discharged 5 years ago. It was challenging, but I learned a lot. And I took my medic's oath very seriously. So, yeah, that's what it was. Solid Owl says, this man needs to be president. If you're talking about me, then no presidency for me. I'm not interested, thank you. Johnny Ringo says, well said, shalom. Indeed. What about Israeli migration into the West Bank, says Akira. First of all, if we were migrating there, we would not have offered it repeatedly to the Palestinians in peace accords, which they rejected. Second of all, the actual illegal settlements that are illegal, I'm on board with that. They are illegal. They should be dismantled. That is not cool. It's not okay, even if there's a strategic, tactical security advantage. I think ethically, morally, it's not okay to build something illegally and then pass the law to make it legal retroactively. Look, I'm not a legislator. I'm not in the parliament. I'm not behind closed doors in all kinds of meetings or any back alley transactions of all these deals being made, shady and non-shady alike. I'm just a simple dumbass in the Middle East with a cup of coffee and a phone. So I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I do know that just from the onset, it doesn't sound kosher. It doesn't sound right to make an illegal settlement and then pass the law to make it legal. If you are actually stealing people's homes, you should stop. But not all settlements are that. Some settlements are. Maybe they're fringe, maybe they're more mainstream. I don't know. I know that certain laws are being passed in order to perpetrate that sort of behavior, and I'm very, very iffy about that at best, and very much against it, right? Or rather, well, whichever one to go. Anyway, I am against that. So there's no Israeli migration, and the Israeli migration that is there, if it's illegal, then it's not cool, and I'm not for it. If it's legal, I am for it. That's simply how it breaks down. I read pigs fly and breathe fire. Is that true? Well, Edward Schulp, I love the name Schulp. It's a great name. Yes, pigs do fly and they breathe fire. They're called dragons, and you could call them pigs if you want. Stone Smurf is here. How you doing, man? All politicians are idiots. There's not one politician that does the job for the people. They're just in it to serve their term and line their own pockets. Modern politics sucks. Yeah, the problem is, in my estimation, by the time you reach the higher echelons of politics, it forces you to dirty your hands and sully your being and muck up your personality. It's like part and parcel of playing the game. You need to have all these shady deals. You support me on this, and I'll support you on that, and just like what's going on right now with Prime Minister Netanyahu and the ultra-Orthodox Haredi people who don't want to join the army in defense of their own country and nation and people. Now look, Torah is an amazing thing. We should designate a group that doesn't go to the army and learns Torah. Hundreds and thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, dozens of thousands of people? No, that is not the way it works. It's not the way it's ever worked. That is crap. So, what are they doing now in politics? They are trying to pass a law to make a Torah learning student equated with an IDF soldier. No, absolutely not. Those are not the same thing. Both of them are protective. Both of them are essential. Both of them are important. And both of them are not the same. They're not the same. I mean, are they entirely mutually exclusive? No. But they're not the same, right? I was in yeshiva. I went to the army. After the army, I went back to yeshiva, right? It's like, yes, it can be done. Not to mention the fact that there are ultra-Orthodox units in the army. The Hashmonaim Brigade, for instance. The Netzach Yehuda Regiment, for instance. That might be part of the same, right? One regiment, part of the brigade. Okay. You look like a homeless Jesus, says Gage Turner. Okay, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Who knows? Who knows? Oh, yeah. Okay, let's continue. Albie says, did you think the original temple gates are actually at the wall? No, that is not what the Wailing Wall is. The Wailing Wall is the outside wall of the Temple Mount, not of the temple. The temple was on the Temple Mount, where the Omar and Al-Aqsa mosques are now. That was the temple's place, on the mount itself. And there was a wall built around it. That is the Western Wall. The Wailing Wall, the western side of it, is the only part that remains. It is not part of the temple, and it's not part of the walls of the temple, meaning that those are not the gates of the temple, right? So we have the wall that went around the temple, around the Temple Mount. Then we have the walls of Jerusalem that have ancient origins, but they were refurbished, if you will, by Sultan Suleiman 400 years ago. Those are the walls of the old city of Jerusalem, which I've been to, right? And I've showed you. So, no, the original temple gates are not at the Wailing Wall or the Western Wall, not even close. No. What are we talking about, says Gage? Anything you want, I mean, the channel is about faith, spirituality, religion, self-development, philosophy, psychology, but it's whatever you throw my way, so bring a topic. What do you want to talk about, Gage Turner? Have at it. The wall has been rebuilt several times on top of each other. Yes, hey, Todah Salam is here. How you doing, man? How you doing? He says Palestinians don't own anything, unfortunately, because of their leadership, because of their bloodthirsty, warmongering death cult of a leadership that oppresses its own people, steals their money, blames the Zionists. It's like, it really is a pity and a shame. It's abhorrent. It's appalling the way that they treat their people. Truly. Do you like porcini mushrooms? You know what? I'm not a huge fan of mushrooms. Depending how. Is it in a soup? Is it in a stew? Is it as a standalone thing in a salad? Is it sautéed? What with? But porcini, I haven't tasted enough porcini mushrooms to know if I liked it. Actually, I could stand to taste more mushrooms, that's for sure. And of course, I am a fan of psilocybin mushrooms. And, right, if I brought it up, set and setting, test whatever substances, right? Make sure it's not laced with anything. Can you test psilocybin? I don't know. Anyway, treat your body with respect. Treat your mind with respect. Okay. I'm confused. You're talking about walls. Yes, somebody asked about the Western Wall. Presumably it was the Western Wall and the gates of the Hebrew Temple. But they're not really related in that sense. Okay. Just a Dude says, what about 1948 where Arab-Israeli forces drove out Palestinians? Arab-Israeli forces did not drive out Palestinians in the Nakba. The Nakba means the Nakba means the catastrophe. The term Nakba was coined years later by a Syrian academic to describe the failure of the Arab armies to annihilate the Jewish state. That is the actual Nakba. And the Palestinian leaders the Arab Muslim world took that phrase that was coined in a different meaning entirely, and they sort of took it to themselves to mean what happened in 1948. But they were the ones who started the war of 1948. They were the ones who lost the war, and then they bitched and moaned and cried about it, and they continue to do so, and they continue to start wars and lose and bitch and moan and cry and complain and say that they're the victims when they are the ones who are doing all of the aggression, right? They are the ones who are starting all of these wars. And then when they lose, inevitably, they cry victim. No, that doesn't work that way. The Nakba was the failure of the Arab armies. That was the catastrophe. Not the fact that Jews or Arab-Israeli forces drove out Palestinians. First of all, in war, that happens a lot. Why are you not talking about Pakistan, for instance? Why are you not talking about Russia, Ukraine? Why are you not talking about all of the displacement that went on after World War II with Germans who were kicked out? Because Nazi Germany took over places. Germans were there. After the war ended, they had to get... Why don't you talk about that? I'm not coming straight at you. You're just asking questions, which I love. But people love to take jabs and stabs and make accusations against Israel with no historical context whatsoever other than, duh, Israel bad. That's it. For no viable reasons except sovereignty. Of course there are viable reasons. It's called a war, just a dude with questions. A war. Have you been to a war? Have you been in a war zone? Have you been in a combat zone? Have you ever been under attack by forces who came to annihilate you completely and slaughter your family? Really, I think you can understand it even without it actually happening. And Lord knows, I hope it doesn't happen to you. Hypocrisy? No, it's not hypocrisy. This is the nature of war, right? A group of people start a fight, they lose it. That means that they lose their sovereignty, they lose their territory. This is the way it goes. And yes, people might be displaced. This is what happens in wars all over the world. And yet I don't see you asking Australia to give it back to the Aboriginals. I don't see you asking the US to give Texas back to Mexico. I don't see you asking Canadians to give things back to their to the First Nations who were there. No, it's just Israel. Only Israel. Israel is the only country, the only nation that is not allowed to properly win a war anymore. That's it. The world has decided that we cannot win a war. We're not allowed to win a war. We're not allowed to have any kind of decisive victory. Because the world, for some stupid reason, thinks that. I don't know. I really don't know. Okay. Gage says, wait, I know who you remind me of. It's the conspiracy theorist from Stranger Things. I've never seen Stranger Things. My kids, one of my kids saw it. I didn't see it. The one who's actually right about everything. Well, first of all, I'm not right about everything. I dare say I'm wrong about most things, but some things I do say actually have some basis in fact and documented history, and they are provable and verifiable. Unfortunately, for the many terrorist sympathizers in the chat who relentlessly come at me, they've got no leg to stand on, which is why I sit here, not proud, not vain, not saying I'm on the right side of history, I have knowledge, I have wisdom, I have truth. No, simply saying these are the facts. And if you don't like it, it doesn't matter, because facts don't care about your feelings in a very big way, certainly about this. Okay. Why do you make your women shave their heads? Poppy says. Hey, Poppy Carl, good to see you again. There's only one or two Hasidic sects that whose women shave their heads. My woman has beautiful long hair. That's how I like it. I actually met her when I was 16, and she had a shaved head with spikes, with blonde, platinum blonde spikes. She's gone through so many different hairstyles. She's had spikes, she's had dreads, she's had hair of all kinds of colors, including rainbow colors. She's a creative little one. And so, yes, those who do make their women shave their heads are very uncommon, few and far between. Why do they do it? You'll have to ask them, right? Is it Gul, right? The Hasidic sect of Gul or Satmar? Which one of them shave their heads? You can look it up, but it's only a handful of Hasidic sects, a handful of Hasidic courts that force their women or have that custom of their woman shaving her head. That's not something that's common at all. Many Hebrew women have beautiful, gorgeous hair from a pixie cut to the longest, long as God can grow it. Women have hair. Okay. Genuine question, says Gage. What is the difference between Catholicism and Judaism and Christianity? You'll have to ask Catholics and Christians. I have no idea. I do know that it probably has something to do with someone called Jesus. But as for anything else, I would not presume to know. I would not presume to know. Volt says, I think if y'all have an army outside of defense, I'd never believe it's not only after all the money clean up, then allow others to take place. Dude, punctuation, right? Let's eat, Grandma. Let's eat, Grandma. Punctuation saves lives. I've seen monuments, men. It's now y'all thing now, no? Volton 1, I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're saying. Kindly rephrase the question. Really, commas, question marks, periods, exclamation points, they are there for a reason. Okay. Do you hate Jesus? No, I don't hate Jesus. I am a fan of Jesus. I don't see him as a God or creator or savior or Lord, but I'm a fan of things he said in the New Testament. Yeah, that's for sure. Shake your dreads, says Marcel. Okay. Shake, shake, shake. There. Let's continue. Jesus died, no one cares, says Matthew. Well, many people do care. Or, did you mean shake them like this? Shake, shake, shake. There. I shook it like that too. How many kids do you have? I have 4 kids. Some believe that what is called the Temple Mount was actually where the Roman garrison was stationed. Yes, Frankie, there is a difference of opinion on the nature of the different geographical locations. There is no consensus among researchers, historians, and academics on where exactly these things were and what. There's no consensus even over the land of Israel as such, right? It's like Asgard, it's not a place, it's a people. Same thing. Kind of the same thing. He has 4 kids in his tunnel, says John. No, I haven't been to any tunnel in a very long time. And my kids are, away in different places right now. Let's continue. Why don't you shave? Is it a sin? No, it's not a sin. I grow my hair out because I took a Nazarite vow. I grow my beard out because it's part of the Hebrew expression of the body. But it's not a sin. No, it would be a sin for me to shave my hair. Stop bullshitting no longer works, says Sina Hadi. How ironic. Stop bullshitting? Please, pray tell, where is the bullshit? Where? Show me the bullshit, and I will stand side by side, and you know what? That's bullshit. You're right. I'm wrong. I've said this. I've done this before. There have been once or twice when people called me out for something that I said that wasn't factually correct, and I agreed with them, and I thanked them for making me less stupid, less ignorant, and more and right and wiser for the experience. And if you do that, you have my gratitude. But you don't. All you do is blah, blee, blue, your terrorist propaganda. Wouldn't it be purification thing to shave your hair too if you sinned? No, the Nazarite does not shave his or her hair. That is not the way it goes down. Read Isaiah 53, Evan says. Yes, I've read Isaiah 53 many times. It says nothing about Christianity, nothing about Jesus, not a word, not a thing. I know people who follow Jesus are very much, oh, it's so clear. If it was so clearly about Jesus, why did our sages leave Isaiah 53 in the Bible? They left out so many books, so many prophets, so many prophecies. They left them out of the Bible. They were the ones who canonized the Bible. We were never commanded to write down these prophecies, writings, and scrolls. The only thing we were commanded to write down is the Torah. The sages of their own accord, after the destruction of the Second Temple, decided to gather these books and make it a canon of Hebrew books, of sacred texts that we as a nation can reference. If it was so clearly about Jesus, why on earth would they leave it in? See, your argument falls apart so quickly and easily. And Isaiah 53, the suffering servant, right? It's not about an individual, it's about the people of Israel. Of course, Christians are going to read it with a Christian lens, with a Christian viewpoint, and I have no fault, right? I don't fault them for that. But don't come at a Hebrew man who's actually read the Bible in Hebrew, mind you, and don't come at me without context and without anything to back it up by saying, oh, it's Jesus, okay? Have you given any thought to who were the ones who decided that Isaiah 53 will be in the Hebrew Bible? Here's a tip. They weren't Christians. They did not follow Jesus. Why would they put it in there? Yeah, because there wasn't Christianity to write about until Jesus came, duh. Okay, but they're claiming that this was about Jesus, and clearly it's not about Jesus. It's clear to me, to them it's clear that it is. Okay. This creature isn't human, says John. Yes, that is correct. I am not human. I am a humanoid. What's your favorite Call of Duty? I've never played Call of Duty in my life, Uday. I have no favorite Call of Duty, and I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. When I was working in Toys R Us 14, 15 years ago, Black Ops came out, and so I sold a great many of them to people, but I did not play Call of Duty, not even once. So I have no idea. Robert says, Lord Rothschild, 1948, Balfour Accords, USS Liberty. Okay, now you're just spouting terms. I don't know what you're talking about. Gage says, either I have a special form of schizophrenia, or you're the most sane person I've heard speak. No, I know, I have my sane moments, I have my insane moments. Maybe you do have some special form of schizophrenia. Let's hope not. It's not a great condition. If you do suffer from schizophrenia, get the help you need. With medication, you can definitely live out a good and relatively normative life. Okay. How long are your dreads? How long have you been growing them? I last cut my hair about 18 years ago. I took my Nazarite vow 16 years ago. And the longer ones come down to almost my kneecaps. So pretty long. Yeah. You ever see a UFO? Ministry of Shapes says. Have I seen a UFO? An unidentified flying object. There have been flying objects that I've seen that I could not identify. It usually is something to do with the military, usually something to do with the Air Force. These guys make Hamas seem chill. Really, for a 514 BMXJ, Hamas seems chill. Look at me. Am I really that militant to you? Am I really less chill than Hamas? I think no, but okay. What do you think about the Quran? I've never read it, so I have no thoughts on it. Showers? Yes, showers are good. Personal hygiene is good. It contributes to health and wellness and homeostasis. Do you know where you are? Asks Bobby. I am in Jerusalem. That's where I am. Do you know where you are? This makes so much potential sense, says Josh. Okay. The Techina says, I thought for the Nazarite vow you're meant to shave your head. Sorry, this is really... No. The Nazarite vow for a set period of time. According to halacha, rabbinic law, you're allowed to take the Nazarite vow from 30 days onward. Let's say that I would take the Nazarite vow for 30 days. If there was a temple standing in Zion, after 30 days, my days would be fulfilled. I would bring my Thanksgiving offering, my sin offering, shave my hair, put it under the fire of the Thanksgiving offering, and then drink wine, right, and do what I need to do, and then my Nazarite vow would be fulfilled. That's when you would shave your head. My vow is one of four, right? One of four Nazarite vows. One of them is called a Samson vow, just like Samson in the book of Judges, and that is a vow that is unbreakable. It is unnullable, right? You cannot annul it. It's for life. You never cut your hair, and there's no defilement of human death, of corpses. That's the main difference. For a Nazarite vow for a set period of time, you do need to shave your hair, either when your days are fulfilled, or if you're defiled by a corpse, and you need to start counting from scratch. Okay. Why not have one state with equal rights to all? Because this is a Jewish democratic state. Certain facets of it are more Jewish. Other facets are more democratic. If there was, first of all, it is relatively one state with equal rights. There are 2 million Arabs here, Muslims and Christians alike, full equal rights, just like me. They carry the same sort of ID. They have the same sort of duties and responsibilities, other than the fact that they don't need to join the army, and that's a major thing, nor do they need to perform any kind of other civil service, which I think is terrible, and they should make a civil service. Okay. Gage says, what makes you Jewish? The fact that I was born to a Jewish mother. Halachically, that's what makes me a Jewish by rabbinic law. Did you just decide one day? I grew up religious in Jerusalem, and I decided to continue. After doing my research on this faith and other faiths around me, I decided that this is what I want to do. So yeah. You're a liar, says John. Really, I'm a liar? So there are no 2 million Israeli Arabs, Muslim and Christian? No? They don't have equal rights? No? I think I know more than you about what goes on here in Israel. I really do. Unless you are here in Israel and can actually give me verifiable proof, I'm calling you out on your BS. Explain why the Jewish star looks like the star of the devil. First of all, the star of the devil, Holy American, is a pentacle or a pentagram. The Jewish star is a hexagram. The 5 points of the Church of Satan are not the same thing as the 6 points of the Hebrew star. The Hebrew star is not 5 points, hence it's not the same. Many different faiths and cultures and religions have used stars of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points as symbols. The symbol of the Jewish star, the Shield of David, the Magen David, represents the unity of the divine masculine presence. Those are the 6 points of the star. And the divine feminine presence, and that's the invisible 7th point in the center. It represents unity and union. That's what it is. Okay. Gage says, I'm not one of these trolls. Hey, you know what? I welcome all the trolls, all the spammers, all the haters, all the vitriol slingers, the insulters, the encouragers, right? And incidentally, you know, the subs, the likes, the views, the chats, the comments, the DMs. If you want to hit me up in the DMs, Hebrew Nazarite, look for my tree. I'm on X, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And I don't post much, but I'm there for the DMs. If you want to hit me up, that's cool. The Star of Rampham. Yes, once again, that's not the way that it's spelled. And no, it's not the same type of star. It is a 6-pointed star, but with very different meanings. The Hebrews are not the only ones who originally used a 6-pointed star as a symbol. Many other cultures and faiths have used stars, and some of them were of 6 points. Why are your thumbnails always so cursed and miscolored? Oh, just because I like the colors, that's all. Nobody encourages you, says 514. No, you don't, but there are those who do. Many people do enjoy this content. Many. A handful of people do enjoy the content. And so, yeah, even though a lot of people who show up here are insulters and vitriol hurlers and trolls and haters and Nazis and spammers, that's all good. It's just more engagement, right? It's just more engagement. It's more to go on. And not lest we forget that the algorithm sees the engagement favorably. Not that I'm chasing likes or subs or views or shares, and you can tell I have not asked you to like, I have not asked you to sub, I have not asked you to share. But obviously, I do appreciate each and every one of those things. How many children have you eaten? Today? 4 or 5 today. But, the day is young, right? It's only 12:14 p.m. I'm thinking by nightfall, another 7. Okay. The more people see this, the more will disagree and be disgusted by your POV, and they are free to do so. This is the interwebs. It's cool to disagree with me. I'm not asking you to agree with me. It's cool to be disgusted by my point of view. I'm not asking you to be fascinated or encouraged or to agree with it at all. All I am looking for is the back and forth. I'm looking for the dialogue, the discourse. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to shove my opinion down your throat. If you want to try and shove yours down my throat, by all means do. Let's have the conversation. So the more people see this, the more will disagree and be disgusted. Yes, I'd venture a guess and say that out of the thousands of people that watch my live streams on the daily, most are disgusted, most disagree, most likely find me to be a hideous specimen of humanity. However, for those who do stick around and who want to have the conversation, it is, I'm told, one of the more open and free places to do so online, right? And I have no mods, I don't ban people, I don't put people in timeouts, I don't filter, I don't censor. YouTube censors certain things from the onset, and I don't have any control over that. But basically, yeah, free speech. It's the town square, you're on the soapbox, bring it, right? Bring it, just bring it. It's all good. And so I'm told by people that this is a bastion of free speech in a place, right, like YouTube that is so, where people are always banning, people are filtering, people are kicking people out, people are having all of the, and I'm here for it. I'm like, yeah, gimme, gimme, gimme. So I don't mind if people will disagree with me. That's a good thing. It means that we can have a conversation. I don't mind if people are disgusted by me or my point of view. That's okay. That's really, really okay. I don't find any fault with them. Okay. What's your name? My name is Jonathan or Jonathan, whichever you want. Do we just refer to you by your username? You could do either way. You could do either way. People call me Naz. People call me He-Naz. Whatever you want to call me. You can call me Dumbass. I'm good with Dumbass. Hello. Good afternoon. Did you sleep? Are you okay? How's your arm? Yeah, put an ice pack. Put an ice pack on your leg. Put an ice pack on your arm. Please, rest it. Rest it. Well, then rest it in IKEA. One of the better channels. Thanks, Holy American. I appreciate the sentiment. Josh says they are correct. I ain't joking, and I'm not sending you to jail. All right, that's cool. Outspoken 420 says right or wrong is just an opinion. Exactly, it's just an opinion. I'm not saying I objectively have the truth and the knowledge and the wisdom. Because who the hell am I? What do I know? All right. I still don't understand, says Gage, the recent rise in Nazism. What, because of Kanye? Has there been a recent rise in neo-Nazi sentiment? I don't know. MM says, hey MM, good to see you again. No, you don't address his facts, only your opinion, not facts. Yes, my opinions are based on fact. My opinions are based on facts. You can disagree, that's well and good. There are conflicting viewpoints. There are conflicting narratives, which is why I form a synthesis, right? What do we have? We have thesis, antithesis, synthesis. That's what this is. This is me trying to synthesize my POV based on all you good people out there and things that I see in reality and the experiences I undergo in life. And I'm trying always, always, always to be shaping my view. Sometimes it's more malleable than other times. There are hills that I will cede and hills that I will die on. There are flags that I put in the ground. There are parts where I am willfully ignorant and stiff-necked and blind. And places where I'm like, okay, let's be more liberal. Let's be more lenient. Let's see. Let's be open-minded. I am more open-minded than not on most cases, in most things in life. I'll hear you out. I'll call you out on your BS, but I'll hear you out. Okay. Can a Jewish man or woman marry a Gentile? It is not encouraged, and halachically, it's not the thing to do, TBR. If a Jewish man is an observant Jewish man or woman, then they are not allowed to marry a Gentile, and they must either marry a Jew or a convert. Hamez says, I love these conversations. I'm sure many do also. Difficult conversations are the most productive, especially when they're handled with some nuance. Yes. I tried to bring some nuance. It's not black or white. There's a lot of gray areas. Hence my idea of, synthesizing my POV and constantly reshaping and constantly reforming, constantly critiquing, constantly re-examining, right? Just like Socrates said that the unexamined life is not worth living, the unexamined viewpoint may not be worth having. Do you agree more with Rambam or Ravid? About what? It really does depend about what. I can't say this or that, right? You're very factual in your explanation. I try, Esperance Clark. I try to be. I might miss the mark, maybe even more often than not, but I do try to be. Explain Goy heaven. There's no such thing as Goy heaven, my man. There's no heaven in the Hebrew faith. We have no heaven, we have no hell. At least not in the sense that it's some eternal place of damnation or rest, respectively. Or, So no such thing exists. Not a thing. So I don't know what Goy heaven is. Would you like to explain it to me? And then I'll be able to address it. Are Muslims righteous Gentiles? I would suspect if they are righteous people, then they are righteous Gentiles, yes. Main source says, heads up, he is a Hebrew Nazarite. He has never harmed anyone while in the IDF either. You have to give him credit. No, you don't have to. I appreciate the sentiment, but you don't have to give me credit. I really do appreciate that. I did what I could, in the IDF, in my profession as a field medic and an infirmary medic, to aid those who needed my help, be they, wounded or injured or ill. Whatever the case was, I did my best. I take my medic's oath very seriously. I always have, and I always did my job to the best of my ability, in the best possible way, under the circumstances that I could. And I've treated Palestinian security prisoners, and I've treated Christians, and Arabs, and Druze, and Muslims, and Jews. I've treated civilians, and I've treated soldiers, and my brothers and sisters in arms, in uniform. So yeah. I must go. Much love. Thanks, So. Thanks very much. Okay. What do you guys think about afterlife then? The true afterlife, the Techina, is the, I call you the Techina, I know that's not your name, but it's funnier. The true afterlife is after we partake of the fruit of the tree of life that was put under guard but never forbidden. That's what the real afterlife is. If you're saying what is after death, it's a waiting room, right? We have no heaven, we have no hell. We have something approximating a Christian sort of purgatory, a temporary place of purgation, of cleanliness, purification, right? And you have what's called higher Eden and lower Eden, depending on the life you led, depending on who you were and what you did. Then it's a place of temporary rest. But everything will come together back to Eden and to partake of the tree of life together as a unified human race, God willing, united in peace. And we will be able to arrive at creation phase 2 together. That is the true afterlife. We still have a job to do. We have a mission to fulfill. We have not yet partaken of the fruit of the tree of life. Do you want your children to serve? No, I wish that we will have peace and that they will not have to serve. I always give them the option, of saying, look, if the time comes and you're about to be drafted and you don't want to serve in the military, you need to still serve your nation and serve your country with national service. So either or. If they don't want to join the army, I understand. I do. I would encourage them to join the army. It is a kind of rite of passage, but I won't force it down their throats, and I'm not indoctrinating them. You must be a soldier. You must be a combat soldier. And if they want to do national service instead of military service, tfaddalu. It's all good. It's all good. What do you think about Cyrus the Great, says Barrowbacks? Well, he is called a Messiah. He is called Anointed One. He is called a messenger. And so what do I think about him? I don't know that much about him, but he did give the Jews of Judea permission after he conquered Babylon to go back to Zion and rebuild the temple. Got to give him credit for that. Okay. The Techina says that's quite interesting, is that in the Torah, I want to read it after I'm done studying the Bible, and then I'm studying the Quran as well. Well, the Torah does not mention hell or heaven. The Torah mentions Sheol, which is a kind of world of the dead. It's a kind of underworld, if you will, like Hades, but that's Sheol. It's not Eden, and it's not heaven or hell. We do not have such a concept. There is the idea of the Garden of Eden, right, which I mentioned. That's a place we are supposed to end up, right? We are supposed to end up there again. This is alluded to in the story of creation. Okay. Cyrus was a Zoroastrian messiah. Hey, Hosea's here. Did I not say hello? Did I say hello? Hello to you. So where will bad people go? Where do bad folks go when they die? They don't go to heaven where the angels fly. Bad people, first of all, you'd have to define what bad people are. People have different definitions. Second of all, again, a place of purification, of purgation, of cleanliness that is temporary. Right? We have no hell, we have no heaven, at least in the Torah. In the Midrashic, Mishnaic traditions of the oral Torah, there is an idea that is more approximating hell, right, called Gehinnom, that a few people go to a different part of Gehinnom, which is a kind of purgatory place, and it says for a handful of people, there is no redemption, there is no atonement, there is nothing and they have no share in the coming world. I don't know what to say about that. It is not halacha, as far as I know. It is not binding to believe that. So I choose not to believe that. Okay. How many people are going to Eden? Barakat says, as many as will go. As many as will go. The Techina says, so the Garden of Eden is real heaven basically. No, it isn't, because that's only a means to an end. After we partake of the fruit of the tree of life, we move into phase 2, whatever that might be. Since there was only good there before Adam and Eve disobeyed. No, that's false. Because the land sinned and missed the mark on the 3rd day. And so there was already the potential of wrongdoing, right? The land was told to bring forth fruit trees bearing fruit. And what it brought forth was fruit-bearing trees. And so it did something a little different. Afterwards, the animals were created before humans, in that sense, in the creation myth sense, in the creation story sense, which means that the serpent was there before humanity, and that once again was the potential for wrongdoing, and then humanity coming from the earth, with the element of earth deep within us, and so on. And so the element of earth that is within us is that same earth that sinned, if you will, and missed the mark on the 3rd day, meaning that we already too had that potential of wrongdoing, the potential of veering off the path, the potential of missing the mark. So it wasn't only good, there was good with the potential of bad, and then we actually brought that into existence, and we were kicked out of that world into a world of knowledge of good and evil, and that's where we are now. But we are now in a world between worlds, right? And we will be making a comeback to Eden. All right. So, this has been lovely. It's been just over 2 hours. A quick prayer for unity and peace and justice and righteousness. May love and peace cover all creation as water covers the sea. May we be able to overcome our differences. May we be able to overcome our shortcomings and our weaknesses and our wrongdoings. May we be able to embrace each other in our shared humanity, plain and simple as earthlings made in the image of God. May war and bloodshed and conflict and terrorism of any kind be lifted clean out of creation. May we be able to find our path and be united in celebration, partake of the fruit of the tree of life in due time and due season. Until then, be blessed, be a blessing to others, be a light in other people's lives. God willing, I will see you on the next live stream, tonight, tomorrow, some other time, I don't know, where the wonders never cease. This has been so lovely. If I missed you in the chat, I'm sorry. Leave a comment. I address every single comment that YouTube notifies me of that is addressed to me. If you want to hit me up in the DMs, feel free to do so. And that's it. I'll see you later. This has been so much fun. I don't take it for granted that you're here with me. You could be doing anything else right now, right? But you're here with me, live, raw, from Jerusalem, unscripted, unfiltered, unchecked, and with a cup of coffee. So, to life, l'chaim, be well. God bless. Boop.